Good morning. Come, whoever you are, whether you're joining us online or in person, whenever the last time you went to church, whomever you love.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Cheyenne, where we are building a community of refuge, where all have equal worth and are invited into spiritual exploration as a foundation for hope, compassionate service, and action.
This is a place where questions are encouraged.
This is a place with room for all of who you are.
This is a place full of works in progress.
This is a place for being human together.
Welcome. It is good to be here.
Settle in and exhale. This is a time for community.
Good morning. I'm the time for community. All right. Hello, I'm Brigitte Paul, and I'm a member of your Committee on Shared Ministry. And I would like to welcome you to this church where we are on this shared journey to find meaning, connection, and community together. One way we do this is through activities and events that happen in our building and in the community beyond our walls. Let me tell you about a couple of events which are happening soon. Oh, she's got it all written out. Potluck today after church. That's definitely. So it's an opportunity to gather with friends in celebration in our community. You're welcome to attend, whether this is your first time with us or whether you've attended for years. Don't worry if you didn't bring food, we always have enough. Our family fun night we had originally always planned to have it on the third Friday of the month, but we are having a really neat opportunity this year to have Winter Mart in our church. So if you haven't gotten presents yet and you need to pick up some extra stuff, we will have Winter Mart it's the December 17th in the area. So they're gonna need to be setting up the night before that Friday. So we're moving cookies to this coming Friday. So if you would like to come and decorate cookies, it's family night a week early. So this coming Thursday will be the big evening. And we're going to do a baked potato bar. So bring a topping. Are we taking care of potatoes? Yes. We will have the potatoes. You bring the extra stuff to put on it. Okay, so for our shared dinner, before we make and decorate a whole bunch of cookies for our community. Winter Mart is December 16th and 17th, so please come. We have lots of vendors, and part of that money that is made or generated in our building will come back to us. So it's like a 2-for-1. And the other thing I wanted to remind you of is we have our partners, and we're going to talk to one of them in a moment, but we have also partnered with Family Promise, and we're going to do a stocking stuffer activity for them. So we have in the corner over there, we've started collecting non-perishable food items, socks, gloves, things that would go nicely in like little games. You can get a lot of little games that can just fit in a stocking and not a big board game. So if you would like to pick any of those up and donate, we will have more information next Sunday about when we plan to get together and put them together. We'll probably just do it a day after service and just get them all together and offer them to Family Promise. Each Sunday we gather in person and on Zoom. This is our share the plate. Sorry. We gather in person and on Zoom as a congregation. It is here too that we gather our resources to sustain the work of this church and to share our abundance with community organizations to broaden the reach of our values. So I am going to offer our share the plate. Lana, do you want to come up? And she's going to share some information so that you guys know who we are all donating and supporting to this month. Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. My name is Lana Mahoney. I'm a woman in long-term recovery from substance use disorder, and I am currently the executive director of Recover Wyoming. Recover Wyoming is a nonprofit and recovery community organization. We're actually the only RCO in the state of Wyoming. We do many things, but our focus is just to help people to find, get, and stay in long-term recovery from substance use disorder. And so for that, we do a couple of things. Basically, we provide peer-based recovery support. So what that means is that all of our staff and the majority of our board of directors are all in long-term recovery. So we use our personal lived experience to kind of shape our programs and services. And so for our peer-based recovery support, we have our recovery coach and telephone recovery support programs. And that's a way to support someone either new to recovery or who's looking to get additional support in recovery. We work with them to find a recovery pathway that works for them. We support them, we offer resources, we help them navigate some of the challenges that come with recovery, and we're just there to support them through the process. Our telephone recovery support program is actually statewide, which has been really great because we're able to connect with people in rural communities or areas where there may be like limited resources in terms of recovery support. So that's been really great. All of our programs and services are free. So for those who, are uninsured or underinsured, this is a great opportunity to get support. We also provide services through our PATH program, and PATH is for individuals who are experiencing homelessness and who also have been diagnosed with a serious mental illness. So we help them to find safe permanent housing. So we do that as well. We also provide recovery-friendly activities. So we do, a couple of weeks ago, we did a family bingo night and we do game night. It sounds like you guys do some fun things like that as well. And we just encourage people in recovery to, develop that social network and find other people to support them on their recovery journey. So if you or anyone maybe needs a little extra support, feel free to have them come in or give us a call. We have a great new recovery center down on Lincoln Way, right across from Holiday Park. We have some gaming tables in there, and it's just a really nice, comfortable environment. So please refer people. Please come by and just check out our center just to see what it's like. We would love to have you. The only thing I want to close with is that the holiday season can be really hard for everyone, but specifically for people who struggle with substance use disorder, homelessness, and mental illness. And so I encourage you not only to donate to support different agencies that can help with that, but also I know that this time of year can be hard for finances. So one thing I encourage people to do is, if you see or talk to someone who is struggling, just show them that you care, just show them that you love them and care about them. Even just smiling at someone can really be, something that might change someone's day. So just consider that this holiday season, and thank you for supporting us. And please stop by the Recovery Center anytime. It's 1017 East Lincoln Way, so right downtown. Thank you.
What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change, to ask that question, to take that journey? What is it that says you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come and let us worship together. So for our opening hymn, I invite you to turn to the very beginning of your teal hymnals and rise in body or in spirit to join us in singing hymn number 1000, Morning Has Come.
So today, our chalice will be lit by Orson Paulsrud and Marcy Kindred on the occasion of Orson's birthday. Yay! I have a little reading to do as well. Last year around this time, Bell Hooks, author of All About Love, passed away after leaving an incredible legacy of love. She insisted that the fight for women's rights had to take into account the diverse experiences of working class and Black women, and she helped us understand the true nature of love. She wrote in her book all about love the following: love as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Love is as love does. Love is an act of will, namely both an intention and an action. One might call it faith in action. I cannot think of anything more intentional than deciding to have a child and taking action to make it so. Today we celebrate Orson's parents and his wonderful and hopeful life thus far as he lights our chalice. Orson, you are so loved. Happy birthday. You are a gift to us all, and we are so happy to nurture your spiritual growth.
Thank you so much. And now, I know you just got back to your seat, but if the young or the young at heart would like to join me on the chancel, we invite you to share in the leadership of speaking our covenant before our time for all ages. All right. Y'all know this pretty well. So we'll start with love is the spirit of this church, and service its cause. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth, and to help others. All right. Uh-oh. Good catch on that fidget toy. So, here we all are. And I have a quiz. I don't actually know if the adults know the answer to this. But what is the Unitarian Universalist Association's Article 2? Does anyone know? Yeah.
Maybe it's about community?
It is kind of about community. That's actually a really close answer, because it's not exactly a legal document, but kind of. Not exactly a promise, but kind of. And it's not a set of rules. But it is part of the Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws. And it is a promise that every Unitarian Universalist church in the United States makes to one another about all the things we say are the reason that our church and all of the churches all across the country exist, and why we choose to work together. So, a little bit of a history story. Back in the 1950s, the Unitarians and the Universalists weren't actually just one church. They each had different churches and even different ways of doing church. But they decided they liked each other enough to try and join together and be one church all together. A little bit like a marriage. How many of you know somebody who's married? Yeah, just about everybody. So, in a marriage, each person is their own individual. Yeah, a lot of people have moms who have married their dads. Yeah. Some people have moms who marry other moms or dads who marry dads. There are a lot of ways to be married.
Weird.
It's not really. It's pretty normal for this church.
No way.
We do that a lot. But you know, when you're in a marriage, you decide that maybe you're going to live in the same house together and maybe share some goals or some ideas about how you want to live. So it's really important to have an agreement on some of those things, on your needs, on your values. So, this is a big question. If you were thinking about getting married to someone or about moving into a house with someone, what might it be really important to think about together? Yeah.
To be nice and not be rude to other when you are with somebody else, and to care about them.
Yeah, how to care about people and be nice and not be rude to each other.
And to share food if they want some and ask.
Oh, maybe sharing food, maybe asking before you use one another's things. What else can people think of? Anything else you need to do together or think about when you get married? You all might know.
Yes.
Do you have more ideas? Yeah. What do you think?
Maybe to be like, not to be rude, like in front of your children, if you even have them.
Yeah, not to be rude in front of your children. Maybe decide if you want to have children. That seems really important to both agree on. Yeah. And there are some like really basic things. Who buys groceries?
Mommy or the dad.
Yeah, maybe.
My dad and mom do that.
Your dad and mom do it. Sometimes people do that together. Sometimes just one person in the family is in charge of groceries. And maybe the other person does dishes or laundry.
I have to do the dishes every single day after I eat.
Yeah. You might want to make agreements about when you have friends over so that it's not super late and one person just wants to go to bed, but the other person has lots of friends in the living room.
Yes.
Yeah. So, this sounds like a tangent, but it's really not, because the Unitarians and the Universalists had to make some kind of important decisions too. And they didn't want to tell their churches exactly how to do every task. Not every church does dishes the same. Some have dishwashers, some do them by hand. But the really important thing is to have some principles in common, some shared values about how we make the choice about who does the dishes. So they didn't write down, well, the Unitarians will do the dishes on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, and the Universalists will do the dishes on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, but on Sunday nights, everyone goes out to a restaurant so someone else can do the dishes.
Nice.
That would be a little wordy. Instead, they might write a principle like, dishes should be divided equitably between all people. And then, if somebody wanted to find out how they made that choice, to write it down, they would write a source, like, we find our chore chart choices in the experience of friends and family and their wisdom on relationships. Except it was about church, so it said things like the Christian and Jewish traditions, or wisdom from the world religions. And then they made another choice, because can you imagine if somebody decided all the chores that you were responsible for when you were a baby, and then you could never do those chores differently, even when you were 10 or 15 or 20? Would that work very well? No. No, because who's in charge of choosing your clothes when you're a baby?
Mom and dad.
Yeah. How many of you still want your mom and dad to choose all your clothes and dress you in them? Just maybe one. But mostly, do you all have some opinions about what you think looks good on your body and what you'd like to wear?
Yes.
Yeah. So things change. So the Unitarian Universalists, as they joined together, said as things change, every 10 or 15 years, we need to think about them again and make changes so we know what we value most now. And so today's church service is going to be a little bit about the changes that are being made right now to our agreements and how we can be a part of that process. So that even though we don't know everything that will happen in the future, we know what our values are and what we hope to do to make more love in the world. Sounds pretty good, yeah? All right. Thank you for joining me today for all of this information. So now, as we transition to our pastoral prayer, I just want to take a moment to let people know that we have set up a Joys and Sorrows station at the entrance to the sanctuary on that little table just to the left as you go out of these stairs. And so if you would like to share your joys and sorrows, you are always welcome to write them on a note card and pass them up here, either during the offertory or at any point. You can hand them to a worship associate. And today, let us join in prayer. Spirit of creation, of love, and of wonder, we gather once more to be with one another, to share in community. We hope that this time will help us to support one another, to be a comfort in hard times, to be with one another in celebration of the joy and excitement of what is good and new. May we have support as we dwell together in the awe-filled mystery of this magnificent and ever-changing life. Let our prayers reach out to all those struggling with health, to those in need of company, to those for whom the approaching holidays bring grief and complexity. May we support one another. May we notice those in the world who could use a little extra care in this time of year. Let us celebrate the changing seasons, Orson's birthday. And may we bless the cold, sharp edge of winter, the snows that give us the bright, beautiful, sparkling winter vistas, and hold in their heart the potential for a moist and blossoming spring that shall come as the seasons change. Let us give thanks for the resting time of the earth. Hold room in our hearts for joys yet unshared and sorrows too tender to be spoken aloud. May we find in this space peace and comfort and community which enfolds us. Amen, and blessed be. And today, we're going to remain seated and try a sung response, number 1013, Open My Heart.
Heart to all
a centering reading. This is from What Brings Us Together by the Article 2 Study Commission. We assert that our deepest common theological grounding and value is this: love. We find it peeking through the words of the currently existing principles. We see it in our insistence on the worth and dignity of every person, and the calls by some that this insistence needs to extend to all other beings as well. We see it in the call for demanding and embodying justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We hear it in our urging of acceptance of one another and our support for each other's spiritual growth. We discern an accountable love in our call for a responsible search for truth and meaning, our affirmation of the right of conscience, of the right of every individual to participate in shaping those institutions that govern them, displays a deep respect and love for every person. We hold up the goal of a peaceful, free, and just world community as an expression of what love can and should bring into being. And we believe that our call to respect the interdependent web that we are all part of is an articulation of love for all that is and our place and our role in that web. We see love called out as what demands that we be active in our justice work and our justice making. We note that our hymnals contain many assertions of what we aspire to and what love can do, and let us build a home where love can dwell. Love will guide us, and we are answering the call of love among them. We respond to the call of love because it is our common theological core. It is what can and does motivate us and illuminates our deepest commitments to one another.
Long ago, way before the Gregorian calendar became a standard for the world's timekeeping, ancient peoples looked to the sky for patterns that would mark the turning of the year and help them to understand the rhythms of their lives. And today, when we make goals, form plans, we still tell one another to shoot for the stars, to aim high as we explore the limits of what is possible, as we mark our own patterns and chase our dreams. As a young child, when I would go on airplanes with my parents, the thing that made me most excited was just a few minutes after takeoff. That moment where you would rise through and above the clouds and begin to see all of the fluffy forms rising around and below the plane. It was magical, something you never get to see from the ground. My parents would look out the window with me, talking to me about what those shapes looked like. Giant giraffes striding through a white field of billowing grasses. Huge mounds looking like chairs from the palaces of gods. It reminded me of stories like Jack and the Beanstalk, where Jack climbs up and up and up to find a land of giants living above the earth in halls, much like what I could see out the window sometimes. And I wished that they were solid enough that I could step out of the plane to go skipping and dancing across the tops of those clouds and roll and bounce on them, just like I wasn't supposed to, but secretly did on my own mattress during nap time. Some of you may relate. But that's what those sayings are about. To imagine a land, dreams and fairy tales, and then to aim for them, to go high, because our calling as people is to imagine beyond what is possible and wonder what it might be like. Wonder what could be. May we take our minds walking on clouds whenever we can. In this season of darkness and light, as the world encourages us to turn inward and find precious warmth in community and fellowship, this is a time for stories. This is a time for dreams. The pagan peoples of British and Celtic traditions have long told stories of the oak king and the holly king, who each strive for supremacy as the world turns from summer heat to winter's chill and back again. Neither ever triumph. They each find balance and tension, moving back and forth as the days grow shorter and longer. In this time, Christians anticipate the birth of the Christ child and offer small lights of Advent, bringing hope, peace, joy, and love back into the world. Hanukkah brings a miracle of light to the Jewish people all around the world. People of the Northern Hemisphere mark various transition times and holy days surrounding the solstice, from growing nighttime to that first hint of lengthening of the sun that will eventually bring the springtime once more, as we turn again and again in our cycles. We find a common thread in these needs to be reminded of hope and love and community. And so it is in this time, in our country and in our denomination, as we see rising white nationalism, polarized politics, as these very words make me think perhaps we should have metaphors of polar bears and snow. Our denomination is recommitting itself to the hope of springtime, to continue our evolution, to move forward in new affirmation of what we hold close and what we value and what we wish for. So Article 2 in our Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws, even as it seems like it might be a boring piece of governance, it isn't. It's where we choose to come together to imagine what lies above the clouds and point our way to the stars. It's the world that could be, a beloved community not yet created, but perhaps just beyond the next horizon. Some of you may know some of the 7 principles as they already exist: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, all the way through to that affirmation of the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. But it's important to note that never did the Unitarians or the Universalists place "we believe" into any of these principles they wrote down. They're not a creed. They're a covenant, a promise to create. We covenant to affirm and promote. They point us in a direction. And sometimes the 7 principles get seen as a bridge, that we start from each individual's worth and go all the way across to understanding the interdependence of all things. A bridge is a solid way to reach the future. It gives us rails to cling to and solid footing. Bridges are tools. They're meant to help us get to a destination. They're not the destination itself. And as our faith has grown and matured, we're working toward even more. Deeper dives, further explorations, and new metaphors. And so, as Article 2 is being reimagined, they were charged to center us in love. Unitarian Universalists in the Robert Miller's survey in the 1990s, before the Side with Love campaign ever began, ranked loving as an instrumental value and mature love as a terminal value, more highly than did respondents from any other group, religious and non-religious. What a fascinating thing. What a common core. In my internship, I had a woman in my spiritual development class called What Moves Us talk to me about her deep belief in God and in Jesus. And I wondered, why this church? Does it ever bother you that we don't do a lot of preaching from Jesus or about God? And she said, no, absolutely not. Because every time the preacher says love, I know what they're talking about. And so Article 2 was charged to root its work in love. And with love at the center, they have been working with Unitarians and Universalists, with all of our congregations and individuals, to help us imagine and feel and notice what we value. And so, today, I would love for you to think of a new metaphor. We talked about the 7 principles as a bridge. Now, our Article 2 Commission has made a draft that places 6 core values in a circle with love at the center. One of our lovely church leaders, when I first described this, said, "It sounds like a flower." And so, I'd like you to imagine, because I love this framing, meditate on our values as perhaps a flower, each petal guiding us toward love in the center, like honeybees, nourished by love, who come back to this congregation again and again to fill up on that sweet nectar, find pollen to scatter, to grow new people and communities in love, to distill that wisdom that becomes precious and sweet honey for our children, to guide us through the winters and the cold seasons when we need what we have gathered to last. The petals, each of those surrounding values, which the Commission names, are justice, generosity, interdependence, equity, pluralism, and evolution. You'll notice several that we already find in our current 7 principles, a couple which seem to be new additions. I ask you to take a moment to feel how you resonate with each of these words: justice, generosity, interdependence, equity, pluralism, evolution, and at the center, love. These values, this draft, is something we will continue to be in conversation about through the coming months as we head toward the summertime and our General Assembly of Congregations, when we all come together to make choices about the future of our denomination. Let us be in conversation. Let us hold each of these gently, and let us dream and imagine what a future might look like in this faith as we change and are changed by one another. Blessed be. May it be so. And I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we finish with an old traditional hymn, number 18, What Wondrous Love. We'll sing verses 1 and 3 together. As we extinguish our chalice flame and speak together the words in our order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fires of commitment. These we carry within our hearts until we are together again. As you go, may you go in love, surrounded by this community which holds one another close. Blessed be.